Okay, Janet grew up in Topeka, Kansas and attended the University of Kansas, where she earned a bachelor's degree in education and a master's in applied linguistics. She has taught German and French in high schools in Kansas, Indiana, and Massachusetts, as well as English as a second language as a graduate student, and later as various waves of immigrants arrived in the U.S. She has enjoyed spending several summers in the German-speaking countries of Europe as a student, a chaperone for American high school students, and an independent traveler with her husband, Larry. Now retired, the couple lives at Kidron Bethel Village. Janet teaches English as a second language to some Ukrainian families in the Newton area. Other hobbies include reading, volunteering at the Etc. shop, playing in the Kidron Chimes Choir, and interacting with family and friends. The Dixons have 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren. So, Janet, you can wave your hand in case there's some that don't know you. Okay, and then for Evelyn was born and raised in Henderson, Nebraska. She attended Bethel College. Okay, yay. And graduated from the Wesley School of Nursing in 1975. Evelyn found her passion in nursing school and spent 40 years of her career in the neonatal intensive care. During her career, she cared for many immigrant children, many from Mexico and Southeast Asia. In 2017, Evelyn was invited to join the Immigration Support Services Network in Wichita, a multiple disciplinary group to support and honor our immigrants in Kansas. In 2019, Evelyn joined an MCC learning tour in Southeast Texas. While there, she took a detour to Catholic Relief Services in El Paso with her entire vehicle full of clothes from her workplace and Shalom Mennonite Church. In 2020, she worked with Team Mount Brownsville and World Central Kitchens, cooking meals for 1,500 people and making sandwiches to be distributed to children in the Matamoros encampment. These are a few of the experiences that have shaped Evelyn's work with immigrants and refugees. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Evelyn. We should give them that.
Hello. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to start with a thank you to Shalom Mennonite Church for the assistance and work that they have helped me to fulfill my dream of sponsorship. I was going to spend some time talking about sponsorship, but Alexander and Lydia are going to speak about it in their presentation. We were referred to a group called Uniting for Ukraine to find a family. Jennifer from U4U asked if we would be willing to take a family with a handicapped child, as these are difficult to place. Our group agreed, and I met them on Facebook for a conversation on July 4th, 23. I accepted them, and they accepted us. At that point, they sent me all their information, and I applied to the U.S. Customs and Immigration. There's like 14 pages to fill out for every person, and includes my financial information so that I can support them for 2 years if needed. Once we were accepted, we partnered with IRC in a match grant program. And IRC spoke to us last year, if you remember that or were here. And Lydia had, the little story I'm going to tell is, the night before they arrived, Lydia texted me and asked me if there were going to be beds because they were going to get there late. And I realized that I had not sent them any pictures of the house that our church set up. I can get it to go. So this picture is the one they sent me after we agreed to work together. And then this is the house we got for them. And the church members set this all up before they arrived. So I did send her those pictures. She's going to talk about it a little more in her part of the presentation. So I'm going to turn it now to Janet.
To understand a population's culture and language, it's helpful to have at least some knowledge of the history and geography of the home country. Today, I would like to give a very brief picture of Ukraine from a historical perspective, and maybe even some trivia comments, to provide a setting for the events of recent years. Ukraine is Europe's largest country. It's only slightly smaller than our state of Texas. It is bordered by Russia on the east, Belarus on the north, Poland and Slovakia on the west, and Hungary, Romania, and Moldova on the southwest. On the southern border are the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. Its capital and largest city is Kyiv in the northwestern part. Most of the country is fertile steppes, agricultural plains, as we know. In the west are the Carpathian Mountains. Here comes the trivia part. In western Ukraine, archaeologists have found stone tools dating from 1.4 million years ago, the earliest evidence of humanoid presence in Europe. Settlement by modern humans dates back to 32,000 BC. It is thought that the horse was first domesticated in the area of Ukraine. I don't know how they know that. Anyway, Ukraine's territory has for centuries been a crossroads for tribes from Asia and the Near East, and for early European peoples. As kingdoms rose and fell, they left their mark on the areas they traversed. By the 10th and 11th centuries AD, Ukraine, then known as Kievan Rus, became the largest and most powerful realm in Europe. In the following centuries, it gradually disintegrated into rival regional powers. The area was contested, divided, and ruled by a variety of external powers for the next 600 or more years. Even during the 20th century, Ukraine experienced only a couple of brief periods of independence. In 1991, as the Soviet Union dissolved, Ukraine became an independent republic. Due to its extensive, fertile land, Ukraine has become an important exporter of grain, earning the name of the breadbasket of Europe. Imagine that. Ukraine also grows sunflowers abundantly and produces and exports a wide variety of sunflower oils. In fact, the sunflower is the national flower of the country. The Ukrainian language is a Slavic language and is thus related to Russian, Polish, Belarusian, Czech, Serb, others. The writing system uses Cyrillic letters, as does Greek. However, since Ukraine's independence, English is taught in the schools, starting in the first grade. In the Ukrainian language, the country name Ukraine is pronounced Ukraina. The language is called Ukrainska. I'm trying to learn a little bit. It's worth noting that Lydia and Sasha have written their stories themselves in English, their fourth language. Their first language is, of course, Ukrainian, but they can also communicate in Russian, Polish, and now English. Wow. Let's see, we'll start with Sasha.
So I'm going to introduce you to Alexander. He goes by Sasha, Lydia, Bodan in the wheelchair, and Sasha on Ron's, Sasha, Artem, sorry, on Ron's lap up front. So without further ado, I'm going to let them start their story.
I was born May 15, 1989. That sunny morning at 5:15, I was presented to my mother. Then I was 3, I started attending preschool. I love it. When I turned 7, I went to first grade at school number 21 in Ivano-Frankivsk, a city western Ukraine and my hometown. I was a student at the elementary school for 7 years. In 8th grade, I attended the military lyceum, but I didn't like it. After 2 months, I transferred to school in Bohorachane, a rural settlement near Ivano-Frankivsk. After I completed my secondary education, I attended a college where I studied auto mechanic for 3 years. Then came my first job, where I worked in a supermarket on the product tab, bringing merchandising from the back room to the selling floor. After 1 year at that job, I went to an academy for 4 years, where I studied business management. Then I started to working as merchandiser for Terra If distribution company. A little later, I was promoted to sales manager at the same company. I held that job for several years. On weekends, I worked part-time for a company similar Uber. 1 year, very early on January 2nd, I got a call to take 2 girls from a New Year's party. As I drove them home, we enjoyed visiting. After one girl got out of the car at her home, I asked the other girl if she would mind if I stopped at gas station, and she agreed. But instead of gas station, I bought coffee for both of us. After spending several hours talking in the car, we exchanged phone numbers and agreed on time to meet again. And that's how I met Lydia.
I had a fun and interesting childhood. My older sister and I loved playing with dolls together. We turned a table into a tent by tying fabric to the table legs. There we sewed clothes for dolls, and then we had a fashion show. I liked school. My favorite subjects were math, Ukrainian language and literature, and physical education. In first grade, one of my classmates became best friends. We have been friends for 26 years. After finishing secondary school, I attended the university to study economics. I spent a lot of time in the library studying. I also met many friends there. During vacation, we visited each other. One summer, we climbed the highest mountain in Ukraine, Mount Hoverla. It took half a day to hike to the top and the rest of the day to come down. The mountain is 2,000 meters, about 6,000 feet high. It's in western Ukraine near the border with Hungary. After graduation, I worked as a credit inspector in a bank. However, after 6 months, the bank went bankrupt. It wasn't my fault. Then I found a job in another bank, working first as a cashier, then as an economist for small and medium-sized businesses. I opened and closed accounts, filled out checks, made tax and other payments, issued credit cards and loans, and opened a deposit account. 1 year, very early on January 2nd, I and my friend have been visiting another friend. And since it was late at night, we decided to call a taxi to take us home. The driver was a young man named Sasha. We three talked and joked easily as he drove us to my friend's house. After she got out, Sasha asked if it was okay with me to stop at a gas station on the way to my house. But instead of buying gas, he came back to the car with coffee, and we talked for several more hours. We then exchanged phone numbers and started dating. In due time, we planned our wedding. As is the custom in Europe, we had both a civil ceremony and a church ceremony. In Ukraine, the civil ceremony takes place at the courthouse, attended by the bride and groom and their immediate families. All wear their Ukrainian national clothing. During our civil ceremony on August 20th, 2016, four instrumentalists, also wearing Ukrainian outfits, played Ukrainian national music. We had a very nice church wedding on October 9 that year. It was my dream wedding. I wore a beautiful white dress and Sasha was in a dark blue suit. After the ceremony, we went to the restaurant with our families and friends. Besides enjoy dinner, we danced the wedding dance as well as other dances. It was the happiest day of our life. I will remember it forever.
A little more than a year after we were married, our first son Bogdan was born. A few months later, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. We know that we will need medical treatment, therapy, and medicine, all of which will be expensive. I knew the job in Poland paid better than in Ukraine, so I began to look at job possibilities in Poland. My first job in Poland was a supermarket warehouse, but after 2 months, I was hired to drive delivery truck. This required a lot of traveling in Europe. Lydia and Bogdan were living with my mother and grandmother in Ukraine, in Ivano-Frankivsk. I would work 4 weeks in Poland and then have 2 weeks at home. A little later, the owner of another company offered me a higher salary to drive delivery truck for his company. A year after that, I got my CDL lessons and went to work driving semis for semi-trucking company near Lodz, Poland. During my work for Polish companies, I visited many European countries, including Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Lithuania, Latvia, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Austria, Italy, Spain, Sweden, and Denmark. It was really cool to combine work and something interesting to see. I had been working in Poland about 6 years when Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. We decided that Lydia and Bogdan will be safer in Poland, so they joined to me in March that year.
Since 2022, there is a terrible war in Ukraine. Russian missiles and bombs attack every day. Many people, including children, die. Many hospitals and schools and much infrastructure have been destroyed. The war continues, and we do not know when this horror will end. One day, when the war started, we woke up to a loud noise. From the news, we learned that the war had started. I couldn't believe it. Fear and panic gripped me. I didn't know what to do. All news reports were saying that Russia was threatening to use nuclear weapons. That was even more frightening. Sasha and I discussed the situations and decided that we should go to Poland. The trucking company that employed him was based in Lodz, Poland. We prepared our passports, Bogdan's medical documents, other important documents, and the most necessary medicine. We also took Bogdan's favorite toys and several books and photos. We packed a suitcase with clothes. Our whole life had to fit into one suitcase. In addition, we had to take special equipment for Bogdan, then 5 years old. Bogdan and I left Ukraine in March 2022 and went to Poland to join Sasha. We traveled by bus. The bus was full of people with children of all ages. Many cars and buses were also going to Poland, and a long line formed at the border. There were also many people going to the border on foot. Little children in stroller covers with blanket were in the line at the border. It was cold night. Because of the long wait at the border, the trip from Ivano-Frankivsk, Ukraine, to Warsaw, Poland, a distance of about 625 kilometers or 388 miles, took about 24 hours. In normal circumstances, the trip would take about 7 or 8 hours. When we arrived in Warsaw, Sasha's friends met us and took us to the inn, where we could stay until Sasha got back from making a delivery in the Netherlands. After Sasha returned from his delivery, he took us to Lodz, where we had rented a furnished apartment for 3 of us. On the way, we stopped to buy blankets and pillows. It was midnight when we arrived at the apartment, so we went straight to bed. The next morning, we had to go to the supermarket before breakfast to get breakfast supplies, as well as kettle, some pans, 3 cups, and 3 plates. Later, we bought just a few pieces of furniture. The next day, Sasha left on other work assignment, and Bogdan and I stayed at the apartment. We went for walks at nearby lake, to a playground in the neighborhood, and to the store using the navigator on my phone. Everyone around us spoke Polish, and I didn't understand anything, but I began to learn some Polish. We didn't know how long we would live in Poland. After 4 months, it became clear that the war wouldn't not end soon. Sasha and I knew that Bogdan couldn't stay at home all the time. He needs socialization and chance to play with other children. Since there was a preschool near our apartment, we talked to the teachers there. That person recommended an inclusive preschool. Sasha arranged a meeting for us at this inclusive preschool, but he was working and could not attend. I didn't speak Polish well, so I worried about how the meeting would go. However, the school invited a girl from Ukraine to attend the meeting to help with the translation. Bogdan passed several tests. I gave the teacher his medical history and translated several medical documents. We got to know the director, the administrator, and the teachers. A few weeks later, Bogdan went to the preschool. I remember that first day. Sasha and I were excited and happy for Bogdan, and he was excited too. When we arrived at the school, he went to the class and we turned around and went home. I felt like a bad mother. I was very worried about how he would do in preschool without me there. He and I had always been together. It was a new stage of our lives. But when we arrived at the preschool to pick Bogdan up, he greeted us with a smile. His smile means a lot to me. He liked preschool. While we were living in Poland, I became pregnant. We were happy and excited, but the war was getting worse. We saw that it would not end as quickly as we had thought at the beginning. According to the news, Russia was threatening to expand the war to Europe. It was very worried, and I talked to Sasha about my worries. He calmed me down a lot. Artem was born in Poland on January 11, 2023. He was a great joy for us. I looked at him and I prayed that God would give him a good life. He was so tiny and cute. Most of all in the world, I wanted him to be happy. I wanted to protect him from everything bad that was happening in this crazy world. I always share my thoughts and worries with my husband, who was very good at calming me down.
After several months in Poland, we saw that the war in Ukraine was getting worse, and that Poland was getting ready to defend itself in case Russia invaded. So far, a better future for our children. We, as well as our wealth, we decided to move to United States. I started to look online for a way to do that. After much online searching, I found the United for Ukraine program, and I told Lydia about it. This program gave us hope that we could ensure the safety of our children.
To be accepted into this program, we had to have a sponsor for our family. We looked for sponsors for a long time. We understood that people might be afraid to sponsor a family with a special need child. Finally, one day, we received a letter from Jennifer Moak, a leader in U4U, saying that there was a person who was ready to be our sponsors. How happy we were. That's how we met Evelyn Mira. We communicated online with Evelyn for several weeks through a translation app and learned that her committee at Shalom was ready to support us too. Finally, all the paperwork was done and we could get ready to come to Kansas. Our flight to the US was scheduled on September 19, 2023, from Warsaw to Chicago. We were living near Lodz, about 75 miles southwest of Warsaw. The train trip to Warsaw was not easy. We had 3 suitcases, 2 car seats, Bogdan wheelchair and Bogdan special equipment, and we had to change train twice. We were glad to arrive in Warsaw in the evening before our flight left, so that we could relax a little. We needed some rest before our long flight to the US. The next day, when we were checked in at the airport, we were told we could not take Bogdan's car seat into the cabin of the plane. It would need to be checked. I was very concerned about how he would handle a 10-hour flight without the support of the car seat. But before takeoff, the pilot came to us and asked us if everything was okay. I told him that it would be more convenient for Bogdan to sit in his car seat on this long journey. So the pilot asked an attendant to bring the car seat from the plane's hold. That made the flight much more comfortable for Bogdan. During the flight, he slept a little, drew, played with stickers, and watched cartoons on the plane's tablet. He really liked switching videos on the tablet by himself. Artem, 8 months old, sat on our laps and ate, slept, and played.
Before we landed in Chicago, we were given paperwork to fill out for United States Customs. Upon landing, we were taken to a big room to wait in line for our paperwork to be accepted. It was a very long wait, as there were many internationals in the customs line. Finally, the officer called us to have our documents checked and our fingerprints taken. By then, the boys were both very tired, and Bogdan began to cry. Lydia couldn't calm him down, so she took him in her arms and rocked him. When we were finally able to pick up our belongings from the baggage area, we couldn't find Bogdan's special equipment as it wasn't in the rest of our baggage. It was upsetting because we didn't have time to look further. It was time to find out our flight to Wichita. As we felt the baggage claim area, we saw our missing items in different area for bigger baggage, and it was able to get them. What area live?
From airport employee, we learned that we would have to go by train to domestic terminal where we would get our flight to Wichita. So I put Artem in his car seat on Bogdan's stroller, and Sasha carried our luggage. There was a little time left to catch our flight, so we ran a little. Later, as we remembered this moment, we laughed as it was like in the movie Home Alone. Everyone was running so as not to be late for the plane. We boarded the flight to Wichita on time and took a deep breath. As tired as I was, I tried to stay awake since I was holding Artem on my lap. Sasha did fall asleep and began to snore. Bogdan, who was sitting next to Sasha, had a good laugh. We arrived in Wichita at 10:30 p.m. on September 19. By the time we would change a diaper and collected our luggage, it was 11 p.m. and most other passengers had left. An airport employee came up to us and asked if we were Ukrainian. He said there were some people looking for us. As we entered the exit area, we saw a group of people with welcome poster for us. We were very pleased. It was a group from Shalom. We began to get to know our new friends and we loaded cars for the drive to Newton. We drove to the house that Shalom had rented for us in Newton. As we entered it, it was pleasantly surprised to see a vase of sunflowers on our tables, the national flowers of Ukraine. The house had everything we need, even soup and other food in the fridge and cupboards. After a very long day of travel, it was good to sleep in the next morning. When we awoke, we were eager to explore the house and yard. We were impressed with the spacious living room and the kitchen, fully stocked with utilities, dishes, cookware, and appliances. Outside, we saw that the backyard was fenced, and I immediately thought that we could plant a small garden. And in the spring, we did.
On our first day, we took a walk. We liked Newton. It's a quiet, safe, beautiful town. The next few weeks, we were really, very busy. Joyce Mooker built a ramp from our porch to the driveway for Bogdan's wheelchair. We are very grateful for that. Evelyn took us to many appointments in Newton and Wichita. There was much to accomplish. We needed the medical and dental appointments, social security cards, work permit, and bank account, car insurance and title, utility accounts, paperwork with the International Rescue Committee, each of which took more than one appointment. Right away, we enrolled Bogdan in school and that in appointments with school staff. We also needed to start studying the Kansas driver's handbook as we needed to pass the test and get our driver license within 3 months of our arrival. Our first year in the United States was memorable. We celebrate Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and both boys' birthdays. In the summer, we explored the Wichita Zoo. We spent all day seeing all the animals. Our favorites were the penguins. They were very cheerful and were fast underwater. We also attended a meeting of Ukrainian families in Wichita. It was good to meet other Ukrainians and celebrate Easter and Ukrainian Independence Day together. Now, a second grader, Bogdan loves school. He likes riding the school bus with the wheelchair lift to Slate Creek Elementary School. He likes his teachers and his friends at school, and he really likes the new inclusive playground at Slate Creek. Now he can play on the playground with his friends, as well as with Artem in the summer. At 2 years old, Artem eagerly explores the world around him. He loves to play peekaboo and to climb on anything available. Both boys like to go on walks and bike rides. Bogdan has a special equipped bicycle that he can pedal himself. The boys also like to help me water garden and harvest vegetables, especially tomatoes. Tomatoes are Artem's favorite vegetables. The boys also like to help Lydia bake cookies. Both can start the dough with weeks. Our first impression of the United States is that everyone is smiling and people are very friendly. Here everything is done for the comfort of people, especially those in wheelchair. Everywhere there are ramps and elevators. People in wheelchairs feel more free. We think that the United States is a safe place for our family. It's a good place for the development and socialization for Bogdan. We expected that we will find safety, peace, and happiness in a new life here. Our children are our greatest source of joy. They love to love and have fun, and when children are happy, parents are happy too. We want to thank everyone who has helped and supported us. We are especially grateful to Evelyn, a very kind person with a big heart. She is like a grandmother to our children. We are glad that we met here. We are also grateful our English teacher, Janet Dixon, and to Shalom Mennonite Church. They gladly welcome us. We like this church. It's like a big family in which we feel harmony, unity, peace, and justice. Thank you.
So before we go into questions, obviously if you've watched the news coming out of Ukraine is not good. We should not trust Putin with anything. And the Ukrainian program at the IRC has completely stopped because we're in a no immigration point here in the US. And so it's just precarious and it's really sad. And last week they kicked out people from Nicaragua, Cuba, Haiti. We just pray every day that he doesn't decide to do this with Ukrainians. We're kind of living on a knife edge about this whole situation. I'm going to let Ron say a few things quickly before. Oh, okay, so there is a group of senators. Dick Durbin has announced a program to support Ukrainians staying here while it is unsafe in Ukraine. Jerry Moran has very vocally supported Ukraine. And so we're kind of asking people to email him every day if you would like. Call him, leave a message, and we filled out a talking points sheet. Ron and I did this together, and we're leaving some copies in the back if you're interested. You don't have to use the talking points. I was just trying to give some ideas.
Thank you.
So now we could go to questions.
First question.
Question here.
This isn't a question. I just want to say that, my goodness, I am so impressed with the work of Shalom. I think that's marvelous.
Our church actually brought a second family over this fall, and Ron is their actual sponsor. But we did it the same way when we set up for Sasha and Lydia. First Mennonite Church has also brought a family over this fall, and Bueller Mennonite brought one as well. So right now, there's no way we can bring more Ukrainians out because the program has been shuttered. But if in the future it opens up and anyone is interested, Ron or I can help you with the process.
On here.
Sasha, what do you do for work here?
What do you do for your daughter?
I'm truck driver. Truck driver. Yeah, I do. I like.
Are you able to continue to have communication with your family back in Ukraine?
Yes, we continue.
Every day. Remember when we were in college, you couldn't even call them, but once a week collect. Now on FaceTime, they get to see their family pretty much every day, sometimes more than once. It's really great for the kids so they can remember their grandparents.
One question here.
You have brothers and sisters, and where are they, and how do you live with all this going on?
I have sister. She lives in Philadelphia. She is younger. She is 26.
I have sister and she live in Ukraine with her husband and my niece and nephew, and now it's hard.
What about your parents?
And my parents live in Kyiv. Yeah. It's very loud and yeah, it's hard.
And my parents also in Ukraine, in Ivano-Frankivsk. Actually, mother is in Ivano-Frankivsk, and with grandmother. My grandmother 2 weeks ago turned 91.
I've been to the Ukraine twice. My father was born south of Zaporozhye.
Raise your hand again. Yeah, there.
The interesting thing is the common foods that we still have, since a lot of us came from Ukraine. They may have different names, but they're the same food.
With immigration closed at this point, what is the best way for any of us to support Ukrainians or people who could possibly be deported or other nationalities?
I don't know that there's an answer for that. One place that I would suggest if you wanted to donate money to, I have worked with World Central Kitchens. It is one of the best charities to give through. They locally source as much food as they can. They waste nothing. If it's not something that they can feed to people, it goes to pig farms, all those kind of things. So they try and support the local economy, and they have been active in Ukraine probably since about 3 months after the war started. And so I don't know that there's a lot of avenues to help people right now. If we try to do sanctuary, there is no respect for churches that provide sanctuary. So it's not really a safe option for anybody right now. MCC helps work Catholic Relief Services, but at this point, we can't really stop the deportations, and I wish we could.
I think that's where the one thing we know is trying to work with our legislatures to try and get some sense of some stability in the process. So that's one of the reasons we're asking that. I think another, IRC continues to support refugees here, and I think they're a good organization to support with both gifts in kind, but also donations. So they take furniture, they take various kinds of things like that to donations. I think they're a great group to support.
I want to know how many of you have background families way back in the Ukraine? Raise your hands. Thank you. He's surprised. Let's do that again. Raise your hands. How many of you had some family background in Ukraine? How many of you speak Ukrainian?
Any more questions?
Sasha and Lydia have agreed to stay through break if anybody wants to talk to them.